So before I was a minister, many of you know that I studied molecular and cell biology, and I've been fascinated by the living world for as long as I can remember. And so many of those questions that Jan referred to. How do all these diverse organisms live together, and why do they behave the way they do? I embrace the scientific method as the best way to satisfy my curiosity. But after my children were born, I started to become more curious about human beings. And that was the beginning of my long transition from the natural sciences into ministry. I still use the scientific method in my ministry. I am always watching you. I wonder how we humans come to be the way we are with our big brain, our unique gifts, our coping mechanisms, and all our vulnerabilities. So when Jan O purchased this sermon and asked me to speak about this particular aspect of human health, I was pretty excited. And the question that I remember being asked was, do humans have a health instinct? Are we hardwired to make healthy, life-affirming choices? And if the answer is yes, why do we make such unhealthy choices at times? Now, I'm sure that one could write a PhD thesis on this question about sociology, psychology, biology, and I'm sure that someone, perhaps many people, have done already. But I only have 15 minutes, so I left some things out. And of course, we all must remember my social location, 64-year-old, upper middle class, straight white woman. So always have to keep that in mind. I may not be speaking for anyone but for me. The answer to the question, do humans have a health instinct, is, as you might expect, not a simple yes or no question. Add in sometimes, maybe, and except when you're a teenager. I believe that whether or not we do depends upon exactly where we are on our life journey, what messages we've internalized, and how well we know ourselves, something which Jan O succinctly told the children this morning. As newborns, I can say that the answer is yes, if we're lucky enough to be born typical full-term babies. The fact that a typical newborn takes a big gulp of air at the moment of birth and then seeks something to suckle is proof of that hardwired instinct to thrive and survive. Most babies will cry out when they need care. They'll make eye contact to start bonding, and they'll recoil from pain. No one has to teach them to do these things. They just know it's inborn. And those instincts, and they are instincts, are shared by every newborn mammal. They clearly reflect the presence of that internal health instinct. As we grow, however, the answer to the question changes. If you have a toddler or have had a toddler, you know that their survival instincts are quickly replaced by a death wish. What they most want to do is explore and run out into the street, jump out a 3-story window, or eat a big bag of Tide Pods. As their brain develops, they rely on their parents and caregivers to provide guidance, different messages about safe and appropriate behavior. But let's focus on safe. Healthy. As young children, if you're parents, you know this, we are generally excellent learners and will watch the adults around us carefully for clues on how to survive in the world. If we're blessed, the actions and words of our caregivers will be kind and tender, sending the message that we are lovable and worthy of comfort and safety. Despite the efforts of my older siblings, that was mostly the messages I received. Those messages we get when we're young are integrated into our health instinct and become helpful to us as we get older, contributing to what I would call an overall health impulse rather than an instinct, because an instinct means something different in the science world. We accept many of these messages at face value. For example, I have not touched a red hot stove or eaten dog food since I was 2. These lessons were very useful to me, and I, in turn, passed them on to my children. As we gain experience and start interacting with people who are from outside our family or outside of our circle of caregivers, we start encountering messages that may differ very much from the ones we hear at home. And the messages may start to conflict with one another. So that's when we need to make a judgment call. Some of you may remember a moment when you thought, interesting. I think my mom or teacher or coach or minister is dead wrong about this. Do any of you remember a moment like that? I do. It was when I was in kindergarten, and my teacher pulled me out of class and told me that it was not okay that I had worn pants to school. I'm old. She informed me that pants were only for boys, and I disagreed with her because at my house, wearing pants was a normal thing for a kid, regardless of what was underneath the pants. How stupid would that be? Seriously. 60 years later, I actually can still feel the anger right here in my body. My experience in kindergarten is an illustration of how affirming messages, or any message, frankly, can be a tremendous gift. When those empowering messages are integrated into our health impulse, we are able to identify and resist negative or harmful messages that we encounter as we enter the wider culture. How do we know they're harmful? They make us feel immediately uncomfortable. For example, when I'm treated unfairly or disrespectfully or in a threatening way, I feel it in my body. I feel it right here, just like I mentioned. We don't think emotions, we feel them. Our health instinct tells us that something is happening that is not healthy, which results in these emotions and stress. When I'm stressed, my stomach hurts, I get headaches, and I can have trouble sleeping. Chronic stress can create depression, which in some cases is our health impulse telling us that something unhealthy is going on. And clearly there are chemical reasons for depression. So, and that's a whole other category that I'm not qualified to talk about. Getting angry when we or someone else we care about is treated unfairly is a pretty straightforward example of the way our health impulse can be helpful to us. It signals to us that maybe power is being abused, or that we're being taken advantage of, or the patriarchy is working. That anger can motivate us to change our situation because this is complicated. We don't all get the same messages, right? Girls and women get unfair messages from the patriarchy, but men and boys do too. They're just different messages. White people do not get the same messages that Black, Indigenous people of color get from the dominant white culture, something we're still struggling with every day in this country. A quick digression here. As Unitarian Universalists, we profess to believe in fairness, but none of us can see everything that's unfair. We occupy certain social locations. We need to keep this in mind and really pay attention if we want to walk our talk. Some kinds of injustice we may only know about if we listen to people who are getting different messages with open heartedness and compassion. So the next time you're confronted with anger from someone who's different from yourself, I hope you'll take the time to get curious and ask questions. This is something I'm learning it. Earlier this morning, I said that at times the answer to the question, do we have a health instinct, can be no, we don't. Under certain circumstances, we might not be able to get in touch with that health impulse. This is because it's vulnerable. It can get obscured, it can get twisted, and even completely shut down in ways that are subtle and, I think, especially insidious. And I'm talking about what happens when someone figures out that our natural health impulse can be suppressed or exploited for profit. Jan alluded to this. I'm not talking about people who are paid to provide health care or folks in caring professions whose motivation come from a calling to work in fields of health and wellness. I'm talking about the people behind businesses and corporations who knowingly produce and promote products and services that actively destroy our health, both personally and as a whole species. These products and services, as Jan was talking about cigarettes this morning, they can only be sold to us if our natural health impulse are dampened down, overridden, or outright eliminated. We need to be convinced that something that is unhealthy is good for us. So who exactly am I talking about? Well, I have my own list of evil co-conspirators, and you probably have yours, but I can tell you who is at the top of the Surgeon General's list: those who profit by selling cigarettes, tobacco, and alcohol. These products cause significant harm and should never be actively promoted for consumption. However, there is a market for them. And with the right messaging, huge profits can be had, even with the health warnings that are specifically stamped right on the product. For us to purchase and consume harmful products, or even just wasteful and unnecessary products, we need to be convinced. We need to be convinced that they will improve our health somehow. They need to appeal to our health impulse in some way. Who doesn't want to have a better, happier, easier, less painful life? Doesn't that sound like a healthy thing? This is exactly how our natural health impulse gets hijacked. You should buy cigarettes because they make you feel great and look cool. And that'll make you happy, right? Alcohol is fun and relaxing and makes you a much better dancer. That's true, actually. Never mind that both these products are addictive, poisonous, and really expensive. I remember both my first cigarette, which was my last also, and my first drink, which was not. The cigarette made me feel like I was suffocating and I coughed for days. I threw up the rum and coke within an hour and still had a hangover the next day. I never smoked again, as I said, but I did continue to drink, that is, until my liver failed. That's fun, right? Companies that promote these harmful products have learned to exploit our collective social anxiety, planting the idea if they would just purchase and consume these products, we'll be happier, more successful, cooler. That's even better than being healthy, right? I feel the same way about products that are unnecessary. As a self-conscious teenager, and what teen isn't, I fell for the idea that my first priority was to look really good. I bought a bunch of makeup, nail polish, brand name clothes, and the trendiest new shampoo. Yeah, all my friends did, and I like my friends, and they seem pretty smart. As a teen, our friends can have, I think they do have more influence on us than on regarding our health impulse than our family does. It's just what we go through. I remember distinctly wishing I had the money for really expensive skin products so I could have the good skincare regimen I read about in magazines. If I'd listened to my health impulse, which I do now, I would have understood that I already had the best possible skin regimen. Getting adequate sleep, staying out of the sun, eating fresh vegetables, and getting lots of exercise. That's what it is. But nobody makes any money off that. There are a few things that really set off my health instinct alarm bell these days. And again, you're going to have your own list. Really processed snack food. I mean, if it's a color you never see in nature, you really shouldn't eat it. And any kind of mass-produced fast food, sort of industrial-produced fast food. Bottled water, single-use disposable items. I love that. They're disposable, but they're going to outlive my grandchildren. I try really hard not to buy these things, despite the advertising that dreams that convenience will make my life so much better. I actually don't think it will. So, how about you? Do y'all have a no buy list? Think about it. I actually believe that every one of us has a health and impulse, and it might be hard to feel at times, but it is located in your body and it can communicate with you in a number of ways. At least mine does. It will affirm things you encounter that are healthy, rewarding you with, well, I should speak for myself, rewarding me with persistent, consistent feelings of well being. I get these feelings from my gym workouts, from hiking somewhere beautiful, from good food with great friends, from my time with you, and from my family. When I'm in healthy spaces doing things that are life affirming, I feel relaxed and calm and I laugh. On the other hand, my health impulse alarm goes off when I'm engaging in something unhealthy. I'm guessing, well, none of us have a perfectly healthy life, right? Absolute health is unattainable genetically. And let's face it, as we age, we encounter limits. We develop various serious illnesses. We experience loss and grief. We have financial stress. But I believe that our health impulse can comfort and guide us all through this, all through our lives. I've companioned a few people through the end of their lives, and I've almost been at the end of my life at times. And near the end, there can be great joy and gratitude for all the blessings and gifts our lives have offered us. You just have to listen for that. I've talked to a lot of people about this idea of a health impulse, and they've asked me some really good questions like, what if I don't know why I feel badly? Or what if the messages I got at home were that I am not worthy of love and comfort? So, can I trust my health instinct? Or what if I can't figure out what I'm feeling? This is something that happens in the patriarchy to men. You don't feel, you're not supposed to feel. So when they feel something, some men don't know what they're feeling. If you aren't sure you have a health instinct, what should you do? Who can you trust with your precious health? Is it a doctor or a psychologist, a minister, a trained counselor, a trusted friend? That's going to be up to you. All of these choices can be good as long as they feel right to you. I can tell you who I would not turn to. Dr. Oz. Someone promoting a new miracle diet or supplements, an internet influencer, Elon Musk, the latest fitness guru, anyone who is trying to sell you some health solution. Look for someone who has more interest in your well-being than in the profit. And do a gut check on the advice you get. Get a second opinion, get a third opinion. You may have more wisdom there in yourself than you give yourself credit for, and you're worth it. The last thing I want to mention has to do with spirituality and health, because we're in church. I find that my spiritual practices are the best way to tune into that health instinct. I'm not a person who prays in a formal way, but I do a lot of moving meditation that in the form of things like gardening, hiking, cooking. Like other kinds of meditation, these activities help me to clear my mind and quiet it. And in those moments when I'm calm and focused, I get the best advice from my health instinct. She'll say, really, you're being too hard on yourself. Or just apologize, it will not kill you. Or I know peanut butter cup ice cream sparks joy. It does. But maybe a half gallon should last more than 3 days. I hope that you can get acquainted with your health impulse. It's the part of you that longs for life. It won't steer you wrong. If you want to turn its volume up, Try some intentional listening. I don't know exactly what will help you do that. Maybe it's listening to music or playing music or doing Zen meditation or knitting or praying, whatever quiets your mind. Have a conversation with it in the morning. Give it a name. You can say, hey, Shirley, what's going on here? Give it a name of someone you've known who has great common sense and loves you desperately and cares for you and wants the best for you. And of course, I'm happy to chat with you about this anytime you like. I want to end with a blessing for you. And it's a poem that you all know. It's by Mary Oliver and it's The Wild Geese. But I want you to listen to it because in this poem, there's a message that your body knows how to love itself. And also that you are a beloved part of creation, worthy of health, worthy of love, worthy of joy and respect. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about your despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination. Calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. Amen.